Welcome to Homeless U.S. News.
In the dim back streets of Colorado Springs, life flickers between hope and despair. They call this place Olympic City, USA, a land once radiant with promise, industry, and the pulse of the American dream. But behind that glow, thousands drift in silence, their names lost to the cold wind. In a city anchored by the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee headquarters, the homelessness crisis detonates with unprecedented force, economic rifts laying bare a staggering 1,745 individuals trapped in nightly vulnerability, shattering records and overwhelming every safety net in sight. In 2025, 522 souls in El Paso County, Colorado slept without shelter each night, a 101.5% rise from the 259 inches 2024, says the Pikes Peak Continuum of Care pit count. But these aren't statistics. They are human stories of courage, loss, and the will to survive. This is not just homelessness. This is the heartbeat of Colorado Springs, crying out for compassion before it fades into the dark. As we uncover in Homeless U.S. News. Did you know Colorado Springs spans 195 square miles with a population of 493,554, yet contends with a 52.3% surge in total homelessness from 1,146 inches 2024? What if these stark numbers signal a nationwide breaking point? The public lens on homelessness in Colorado. Across Colorado, the face of homelessness is no longer hidden. It's right there, in plain sight. On a cold Denver morning, you might see someone curled up under a thin blanket beside a steaming grate, trying to steal a bit of warmth before the sun rises. Some people glance away, others pause for a moment, torn between sympathy and helplessness. That quiet conflict between caring and not knowing what to do defines how many Coloradans now see this growing crisis. More than 60% of residents say their communities are trapped in a housing crisis, and nearly 7 in 10 know someone who's lost their home or come close. Yet the stereotypes persist. Too often, people imagine homelessness as a personal failure, not the result of rent hikes, layoffs, or a health bill that tipped life over the edge. But the truth is, homelessness is spreading. From Denver's downtown to quiet suburbs, from mountain towns to the open plains, and it's touching more families, more workers, and more hearts than ever before. Take Eli, a carpenter from Aurora who used to build homes for others. After an injury ended his steady work, bills swallowed his savings, and rent became impossible. Now, he sleeps in a small tent by Cherry Creek. Each morning, he sweeps the dirt around his tent and whispers, "I still want to feel like I live somewhere." His voice cracks, but his pride stays intact, a reminder that dignity doesn't disappear just because someone loses their address. Colorado's homelessness crisis isn't only about lost shelter. It's about lost stability, lost belonging, and the fading line between them and us. Until we look past the tents and see the people, the workers, parents, and dreamers behind them, this issue will remain a reflection of how easily a life can unravel and how deeply we all need one another to hold on. Life on the Edge, daily realities for Colorado's homeless. When night falls in Colorado, the streets become a battlefield of survival. Families huddle in cars, wrapping their kids in blankets and pretending the backseat is a bedroom. The hum of passing cars becomes their lullaby, and cold glass windows their only protection. In Denver, tents sway by the river as the wind cuts through. Every sound, a siren, a whisper, a step, can feel like danger. Some clutch small tools at night, not to harm, but to feel safe. When the city's camp sweeps begin, fragile lives are torn apart in minutes. Tents collapse, belongings scatter, and a mother whispers, "We'll find another place." But she doesn't know where. These aren't just scenes, they're real lives holding on to dignity one day at a time. In the mountain towns, workers end long shifts and return to vans parked behind grocery stores. They smile at customers by day, but sleep in silence by night, washing up in public restrooms before another dawn. In Colorado Springs, underpasses become fragile communities where strangers share coffee, flashlights, and small warmths that mean everything. At Homeless U.S. News, we've seen these moments up close, the fear, the courage, the quiet strength. Behind every tent and sleeping bag lies a name, a voice, and a flicker of hope that refuses to die, even when the world looks away. The scope of homelessness in Colorado. Homelessness in Colorado isn't hidden in shadows anymore. It's everywhere. From Denver's bustling streets to the quiet valleys that once felt untouched. The 2023 point-in-time count revealed over 9,000 people experiencing homelessness in a single night, but advocates say the real number could soar past 14,000 when counting those living in cars, motels, or crashing with friends. Behind every figure is a face, and behind every face is a story most people never hear. Denver carries the heaviest weight. About 2/3 of Colorado's homeless live here. The rise hasn't been sudden. It's been slow, relentless, like a tide that won't recede. From 2016 to 2023, homelessness in the metro area climbed nearly 60%, even as the city flourished economically. For every new luxury apartment, another tent appears under a bridge. Rents climb higher, paychecks stay flat, and for many, one missed payment means the street. Take Miguel, for instance, a former mechanic from Aurora. When his shop closed during the pandemic, he sold tools to survive. Then his savings ran dry. Now he sleeps in his old pickup truck, parked near a park where he once took his son to play. He keeps a photo of his boy on the dashboard, a reminder of why he's still fighting. Each morning, he cleans up at a gas station, then walks miles to day labor sites, hoping for work that might lead him home again. Stories like Miguel's remind us that homelessness isn't just a statistic, it's what happens when a person's safety net tears and no one notices. Colorado's beauty hides this reality well. But if you look closely, you'll see resilience blooming in the most unlikely places. In tents, in truck cabs, and in people who still believe tomorrow might be kinder. Housing crisis, the hidden engine of homelessness in Colorado. Across Colorado, the dream of having a safe, affordable home is slipping further away for thousands of families. What once symbolized stability has turned into a struggle for survival. The state faces a staggering shortfall of over 100,000 affordable homes, and in Denver alone, analysts estimate 13,000 to 30,000 new units are needed just to meet current demand. Yet, while cranes fill the skyline, most of those shiny new apartments are built for higher-income renters, leaving everyday workers behind, watching prices climb beyond reach. Nearly half of all Colorado renters now spend more than 30% of their income on housing, and among the lowest earners, 9 in 10 pay over half of what they make just to keep a roof overhead. For many, it takes only one layoff, one hospital bill, or one rent increase to lose everything they've worked for. Behind each statistic are real people. Mothers skipping meals so their kids can eat, seniors sleeping in cars to afford medicine, veterans trying to rebuild from the ground up. At Homeless US News, we share these human realities, not as numbers, but as lives caught in a system stretched too thin. Colorado's breathtaking beauty hides a quiet heartbreak, families packed into motels, tents rising under bridges, and people clinging to hope beneath cold mountain skies. Because homelessness isn't a choice, it's the result of an economy where the cost of living keeps climbing while paychecks stand still. And that's why Homeless US News exists. To give voice to those living this truth. To remind us that compassion and awareness can turn understanding into action, and to ensure no one becomes invisible in the shadow of progress. Voices of protest from Colorado's homeless community. The air in Loveland felt heavy that morning, not just with the cold, but with frustration. Dozens of people stood outside the locked gates of the South Railroad shelter, clutching handmade signs that read, "Keep this shelter open, and we deserve a safe place to live." For many of them, this wasn't just another protest, it was personal. That shelter had been their lifeline through freezing nights, a fragile piece of stability in a world that keeps moving without them. Among the crowd was Gail Randall, her voice trembling not from the wind but from anger. "We don't want people thrown out in the snow," she said, her eyes glistening. "Let the public weigh in." To her, and to so many others, this wasn't about politics, it was about humanity. Yet, just days before, city officials had sent in crews to close the site, calling it a temporary measure. Temporary, maybe, but for those sleeping under its roof, it had been the only thing keeping despair at bay. In Denver, similar scenes play out again and again. Encampments swept away overnight, belongings tossed aside, people forced to start over from nothing. Civil rights attorneys like Jason Flores Williams have stepped in, fighting for those whose voices are too often ignored, arguing that no one should lose their few possessions or their dignity just for existing in public. Across Colorado, these protests are growing louder, not out of anger alone, but out of exhaustion, out of love for friends lost to the streets, out of the simple plea to be seen as human. They're not just asking for housing, they're asking for understanding, for a place in the conversation, for a chance to build a future that doesn't vanish with the morning sweep. Because in the end, these voices aren't shouting for chaos, they're crying out for compassion. 7. Government Coping Strategies in Colorado 2025. In 2025, Colorado stands at a crossroads between breathtaking mountains and the deepening reality of homelessness spreading through its cities and rural towns. This year, leaders are shifting from managing the crisis to healing it, treating homelessness not as a statistic but as a human story that deserves both empathy and action. In Denver, the Department of Housing Stability is leading with purpose, prioritizing families on the brink, expanding affordable housing, and creating community land trusts to keep people rooted in their neighborhoods. These efforts aim to protect not just homes, but hope itself, helping residents rebuild their lives where their memories and connections still live. Across the region, the Metro Denver Homeless Initiative links counties and nonprofits, ensuring that data, funding, and outreach move in sync. Early signs show progress. More people are entering shelters, and fewer are left outside as nights grow colder. It's proof that when systems unite, change begins to feel possible. Further south, Colorado Springs' 2025-2030 Homelessness Response Action Plan blends enforcement with compassion. Outreach teams now visit camps not to push people away, but to guide them toward jobs, services, and safety. At Homeless Us News, we've witnessed how these policies meet real lives, mothers, veterans, and everyday people searching for a fresh start. Colorado's 2025 approach reminds us that solving homelessness begins with seeing humanity first and acting from the heart. The fentanyl crisis and hidden costs of legal cannabis. In Colorado, the fentanyl crisis isn't just a statistic. It's a haunting echo through alleyways, underpasses, and tent-lined streets. In 2023 alone, more than 1,180 lives were lost to synthetic opioids, with fentanyl behind nearly 3/4 of those deaths. For people without homes, every night brings new risks. There's no door to lock, no one to call for help if a friend stops breathing, no quick rescue. A single pill, unknowingly laced with fentanyl, can end a life before morning breaks. I met Marcus, a former construction worker, while filming for Homeless US News in downtown Denver. He used to build luxury condos, the kind with mountain views and rooftop pools, but after an injury left him jobless and in pain, painkillers became his escape. When the prescriptions ran out, fentanyl found him first. He showed me the scar from the surgery that changed everything, and with a shaky smile said, "It's funny, I built homes I could never afford to live in." A few weeks later, one of the volunteers told me Marcus didn't make it. He overdosed behind a gas station, a few blocks from the site where he once worked. Colorado's journey with legal cannabis adds another layer to this quiet storm. When it was legalized in 2012, it promised jobs and revenue, and it delivered. But for those already teetering on the edge, easy access sometimes deepens their spiral. Studies suggest that states with early legalization have seen higher homelessness rates, not because cannabis alone is the cause, but because its availability intersects with deeper cracks, mental health, poverty, and the human need to numb pain when life gets too heavy. Still, it's not a story of blame, it's a story of balance, of understanding that healing takes more than laws or programs. It takes compassion, connection, and the courage to look at people like Marcus not as statistics, but as reminders of how fragile security can be. That's why at Homeless US News, we keep telling these truths, to show that behind every headline, there's a heartbeat worth remembering. Personal reflection on the crisis. Sometimes, when I walk through downtown Denver at night, I catch myself slowing down near those quiet corners where people huddle beneath blankets. The city lights shimmer above them, but down here, it feels like another world, one built on survival, not success. Every face I see carries a story. A father who lost his job after an injury, a young woman escaping abuse, a veteran still haunted by memories he can't leave behind. They were once just like us, laughing at jokes, paying bills, making plans for the weekend. And somewhere along the way, life just shifted. One missed paycheck, one bad month, and suddenly, the ground gave out. What strikes me most isn't just the hardship, it's the quiet dignity they still hold. I've met people who share their last sandwich, who smile through exhaustion, who still say thank you even when the world has forgotten them. It makes you question what truly defines worth. We celebrate achievement, yet ignore endurance. We admire wealth, but overlook courage in those who keep fighting each day just to make it through. The more I witness, the harder it becomes to stay detached. I used to think compassion was about feeling sorry, but now I see it's about standing close, listening, seeing someone as fully human. Because this crisis isn't about them. It's about us, all of us. It's about how a society so rich in opportunity can still allow thousands to slip through its cracks. Maybe what we need isn't another policy first, but a change of heart. To look someone in the eyes and say, "You matter. You belong here too." Because when we finally choose to see people, not problems, that's when healing begins, not just for them, but for all of us. Non-profit organizations, stepping up in Colorado. Across Colorado, a quiet army of compassion is working tirelessly in the shadows. Non-profit organizations that refuse to give up on people society too often overlooks. Their mission isn't just to provide a bed for the night, but to rebuild lives, piece by piece, with patience, dignity, and human connection. At the heart of this effort stands the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless, a lifeline for more than 20,000 individuals and families every year. Step inside one of their centers in Denver, and you'll find more than walls and cots. You'll see nurses offering care at the Stout Street Health Center, counselors helping people face trauma, and case managers guiding them toward jobs and permanent homes. Their housing-first approach believes stability starts with a door key, not endless paperwork. Across 23 supportive housing sites, residents find safety, therapy, and a reason to hope again. Even in Colorado's remote towns, their Rural Initiatives program reaches those forgotten by distance, proving compassion doesn't end at city limits. Then there's Urban Peak, where the focus is on youth, the most vulnerable and often the most invisible. Here, young people aged 12 to 24 find shelter, mentorship, and a sense of belonging. In 2024, the organization opened The Mothership, a single campus where these kids can access food, education, therapy, and warmth under one roof. These groups remind us that homelessness isn't an ending, it's a chapter. And with enough heart and persistence, Colorado's nonprofits are helping people rewrite theirs with courage, care, and a touch of hope. Conclusion. Colorado's breathtaking landscapes, those snow-dusted peaks and golden plains, may suggest prosperity, but beneath that postcard image lies a battle few truly see. Homeless Us News uncovers this hidden struggle, revealing that homelessness here isn't just about lost shelter, it's about lost balance in a system that's slowly forgetting its people. As housing prices skyrocket, wages stagnate, and basic healthcare slips out of reach, thousands of Coloradans find themselves forced into tents, cars, or temporary shelters scattered beneath the same mountain skies once symbolizing hope. Yet, the real tragedy isn't only the lack of homes, it's how easily society grows used to it. When faces become statistics, empathy fades. In downtown Denver, Colorado Springs, and small mountain towns alike, quiet stories unfold daily. Parents comforting children in parking lots, veterans seeking warmth under bridges, or full-time workers sleeping on the same streets they clean each morning. These aren't strangers, they're reflections of our shared humanity. Each one carries a name, a memory, a piece of America that deserves to be seen and heard. Through Homeless Us News, we remind viewers that this issue isn't confined to one city or one group. It's a mirror held up to all of us. What defines our success as a society? Our rising skylines? Or our willingness to lift those who've fallen? Colorado's crisis challenges us to answer that honestly, because dignity isn't a privilege, it's a right. And until every person in Colorado has a safe place to rest and rebuild, Homeless Us News will continue to shine a light where others look away, proving that empathy is the first step toward real change.
Got lemonade at the end there. I haven't.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
How did you do it, if you don't mind me asking?